Welcome into Dynasty Trading Room. Today we have 2026 rookie rankings for your Dynasty leagues, and we're going to give you NFL player comps to give you an idea of who these players are. We're going to break them down, our top 24 in these rankings, and going to show you kind of the tiered rankings here on the side of the screen. You'll see us rank them from S down to D as well. All right, our first overall ranked player in this class is Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. Kick it over to you, Joe.
Yeah, so the player comp we got for this one is Josh Jacobs. I was looking for a guy that can kind of do it all, but is also kind of a battering ram in the running game. Super physical, can run players over. And Jeremiah Smith and Josh Jacobs are kind of similar in that way. Jeremiah Smith, just ridiculous contact balance. He can run through players, but also capable of ripping off those ridiculously long runs. We saw him rip off a like 90 yards something run in the college football playoff last year against Indiana. But he's my top overall player. He's extremely talented, make players miss. He can run through tackles, break tackles, whatever you need to do. And I think that's pretty similar to what Josh Jacobs does on the Packers.
Absolutely. Jeremiah Love, not Jeremiah Smith. We got to wait a year for that. Jeremiah Love can do a little bit of everything. I love him as a pass catcher, so that's why I like this Josh Jacobs comp. He can run him up the middle. You can throw him passes outside. He can do a little bit of everything. He's got that explosiveness to him. So far this year, only one game from Jeremiah Love. It wasn't his best game, but there was still more than enough explosiveness. I think he had like 2 or 3 hurdles in that game alone. So definitely not going to overreact from one mediocre performance. Just one game of the season. He's still the top ranked guy for us here in the 2026 class.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the second ranked player, and this is someone people do want to overreact after one game with, and that is Arch Manning.
Yeah, so Arch Manning, it's no secret he struggled out of the gate, but he struggled against maybe the best defense in all of college football in Ohio State, the defending national champions. So you can't really overreact to that. He did have a bounce back performance against San Jose State, but it is San Jose State, so how much stock can you really put into that performance? But he's shown some flashes as well. Had a really nice touchdown pass late in the fourth quarter against the Buckeyes. That was really cool to see. He's got those physical tools. He's got a good arm. He's shown accuracy in the past. Not been incredibly accurate this year, but I'm trusting the flashes that we've seen. He's a good mobile quarterback. So the player comp we have for him is Trevor Lawrence. This is one I kind of went back and forth on. We had a few guys that we were considering for the comp, but Trevor Lawrence able to get out of the pocket, coming out of college, super accurate, good arm, kind of could do it all, and was a really generational prospect. It remains to be seen if Arch Manning will be that generational guy, but that was certainly the hype coming out of high school. So I think Lawrence is an appropriate comp for the situation.
Absolutely. I like the intangible part of this comp of Trevor Lawrence being that generational labeled prospect coming out and Arch getting that kind of hype around him, obviously for different reasons. Lawrence is for his play on the field and Manning's for his last name. But we have seen some great play out of Manning last year and week 2 of this season. Obviously, his arm is elite. He has the elite arm strength. He can hit players downfield, even in that week 1 game against Ohio State. And let's remember, that's Ohio State. That's the reigning national champion. That's one of the best defenses in all of college football. So having your first opening day start be against them, I think we can give him a little bit of a break here. But still, he had some great throws, especially towards the end of the game. The fourth quarter had a great touchdown pass. A little earlier had another pass that probably should have been a touchdown, but was dropped. Everyone wants to go all doom and gloom after 1 week and overreact. That's the nature of things. But this is still a great prospect. He has all of these tools, and the Manning name is going to carry enough weight to keep him up boards throughout the season, unless the play just doesn't follow all year. Third on our list of 2026 Dynasty rookies is Jordyn Tyson, our first wide receiver on the board here.
Yeah, super impressive wide receiver out of Arizona State. The player comp we have for him, we have 2 guys. We have Chris Godwin and Ricky Pearsall, wide receivers for the Buccaneers and 49ers, respectively. These are guys that can play in the slot or outside. They're capable of dominating in the receiving game if the offense is tailored to their strengths, which in their cases it is. Not elite athletes, but not bad athletes either. But really good route runners who can sometimes dominate at the catch point. We've seen Pearsall make some really impressive catches, especially back in his college days. And they can definitely dominate in an offense that plays their strengths, like we said before. But I think Tyson's a really good prospect. He can kind of do it all. He's my wide receiver one for this year's class, and I think we could definitely see him go top 10 if he continues on the rate he's going.
I probably started coming into this season a little lower on Tyson than a lot of people. I really liked the production, but on film, there were still a couple questions to me. And I think Chris Godwin is a great comp for this reason. When you build the offense around him, he can absolutely dominate the way we saw Chris Godwin dominating to start last year.
Yeah,
Um, but there's just not that elite athleticism. Maybe it doesn't pop off on film, but it's just undeniable when you are that productive. So far this season, Arizona State's offense has looked not great. Uh,
yeah,
but Jordyn Tyson has continued to be a dominant force in the passing game. He had something crazy like 75% of all receiving yards in their game last in week two. So it just shows what kind of player he can be, how much he can dominate an offense, and that's a player that deserves to go up here in the top three of our rankings.
for sure.
Now over to our fourth player, probably our biggest riser so far this season, and that is LaNorris Sellers.
Yeah, so one of my favorite player comps we have in this whole video, what we have down is a somewhere between Cam Newton and Anthony Richardson, which is a just massive disparity between dominant runners at the quarterback position. But no, LaNorris Sellers has looked amazing as a runner so far. Obviously, he is a massive quarterback capable of running through defenders, and he's shown the ability to do that so far this season, especially in Week 1 against Virginia Tech. Had some really nice runs to kind of put the dagger in the Hokies in that Week 1 game. But just an incredibly high ceiling. That's the case for both Cam Newton and Anthony Richardson. But what we want to see is more consistency, especially in the passing game. He's looked solid as a passer this year, and that's why he's rising up our board. We want to see less variance in the type of player he could be, and I think that's what we're getting. So I think he, even as an average passer, could be a really good NFL player just because of his size, because of his speed, because of how good he is on the ground.
When we're doing these comps, we really want to give you viewers an idea of who these players are. Most people in Dynasty aren't watching these college performances week to week, maybe once we get into the national championship, the football playoffs.
Mhm.
But right now, we want to give you an idea of who these guys are. And I think you can get an idea from a Cam Newton, Anthony Richardson comp, what kind of player LaNorris Sellers is. And you get both sides of it as well. Anthony Richardson, the inaccurate and raw prospect, Cam Newton, the dominant rusher with a massive arm as well to complement the running game. And we're in between right now with LaNorris Sellers. I've had some really big questions on his passing, but so far this year he's really impressed me in that area. I see some development, but there's still some inconsistencies that have me a little hesitant to give a full Cam Newton and throw him at the top of my rankings. But that could happen by the end of the season if his play continues.
Yeah.
All right, now is our second wide receiver in our rankings, fifth overall, and that is Makai Lemon.
Yeah, Makai Lemon, our pro comp for him is Calvin Ridley. A really good route runner, capable of winning, especially underneath and in the intermediate game. Calvin Ridley's been very productive that way his entire career. He also wins deep sometimes, but like you said, he can win on the inside, he can win on the outside. Very quick player, good after the catch, very twitchy. He can accelerate, he can make defenders miss, and that's why Calvin Ridley is a really good comp. We've seen Ridley have a very long, successful career in the NFL on multiple teams. I think Lemon's going to do the exact same thing. He's my wide receiver too in this year's draft class. So I've been very impressed by him so far. He's put up a ton of great stats, and I think Ridley's one of the best comps we have in this video.
I really like Lemon's game. He's my wide receiver one in the class, just a slight bit ahead of Tyson right now because it's just that athleticism. He is just an incredible athlete, super speed, very quick. Reminds me a lot of Ridley, especially Ridley when he was younger with the Falcons. He's someone that could be a dominant force in an offense. We're just not 100% sure yet if he's going to take that step, or at least we weren't before this season started. Now that the season started, he's really pulling away from the class at wide receiver. He's currently PFF's highest graded wide receiver in the class with an 89.9 receiving rating, very high. And he has a yards per route run of 7.52. That is a ridiculous number. Like we're normally looking in college at like a 3 mark over a
Yeah.
season is a really solid season, and you're going to be considered among those top receivers. He's right now a yard and a half above anyone else. You're going to have high variance early in the season, but he's way ahead of the field even right now when there's that high variance. So this is someone that I could see just continuing to climb up boards.
Yeah.
Now on to our sixth ranked player, and this is where we drop into this A tier, and that's with quarterback Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, our comp from Fernando Mendoza, new quarterback for Indiana, is Jordan Love, a player that can make those deep throws downfield. Mendoza showed that so far, but also he can get out of the pocket, create time, like we've seen Jordan Love do so much in his NFL career, make a bunch of different throws all over the field. And Fernando Mendoza had looked a lot better in this new Indiana system with Curt Cignetti at head coach. I think it's going to be a pretty nice year for the Indiana Hoosiers, and Mendoza's going to be a big part of that. He was expected to be a big draft riser in the season, and so far he's more or less living up to that pretty well. He's got a great cast of weapons around him, and I think he's just going to continue to rise up draft boards.
Absolutely. This is what I was waiting for. Watching the film on Mendoza at Cal was just sad. It was these little dump offs, nothing good. It was not exciting to watch. And now we're actually getting to see him air the ball out, and he can do it. It's what he showed on film last year. They just weren't letting him do it regularly. Now, early in the season, he's getting those chances, and his numbers should be better than they are. If you look at his raw numbers, they're good, but not great. He's had some very easy very easy drops from his wide receivers that would have been obvious touchdowns, like 50-plus yard touchdowns, and would have drastically changed his stat line. Now, over the course of the season, that's all going to even out, and I think by the end of the year, we're going to see him regularly in this conversation as one of the top quarterbacks in this class. Now, moving over to our seventh player in the 2026 rankings, and that is Carnell Tate out of Ohio State.
Yeah, Carnell Tate got off to a pretty hot start to the 2025 season with Julian Sayin at quarterback. Obviously, Ohio State has a history of producing really great NFL wide receivers, and they're going to continue to do that with Smith and Tate. But Tate, like I said, he's been great. And our pro comp for him is Jakobi Meyers of the Las Vegas Raiders, a guy that can do a little bit of everything. He's pretty underrated for his own right, but Tate's shown the ability to win in all parts of the field, underneath, intermediate. He's won deep a couple times this season. He's made some contested catches. He's a good route runner. He's run plenty of different routes. So I think he could be viewed as a pretty pro-ready prospect, which a lot of these Ohio State guys are tending to be. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him be a first-round pick in the 2026 draft just based off of that, based off how quickly he can contribute to an NFL offense. But he's off to a really good start, and I think Jakobi Meyers is kind of that, all-around high-floor guy is a good comp for Tate.
Yeah, Jakobi Meyers is a guy that can do a little bit of everything, play the X, he can play it with the slot a bit, and Carnell Tate's kind of like that. Maybe he trends a little more to the slot, but I think that was maybe more because of where he could play in the offense, and yeah, we can definitely see him on the outside. He's a big guy, a great frame to target, and like you said, Ohio State wide receivers, these guys just come out ready for the NFL time and time again. We just saw Egbuka in his first season, or his first game in the NFL, have 2 touchdowns. So we're just seeing time and time again these Ohio State receivers be great in the NFL. And Carnell Tate, I will not be surprised if he's just another one of those.
Yeah.
We have another wide receiver next up on the list, and that one is Elijah Sarratt.
Yeah, Elijah Sarratt, a guy that has really done very well at Indiana over the last couple seasons. Our pro comp for him is Terry McLaurin. When I look at Sarratt, I see a very consistent player, a guy who can win deep, who can win intermediate, and he's been very impressive so far this year for Indiana. Figures to be that top wide receiver for Mendoza for the Hoosiers. But Terry McLaurin, a consistent player, a deep threat, intermediate threat as well. I think Sarratt matches that pretty well. Obviously, hot start to the season. Indiana has played pretty well, and Sarratt's no exception. I think Mendoza, as he continues to develop and acclimate to this system, I think his connection to Sarratt's going to get even better.
Sometimes doing these comps can be difficult. You really have to analyze these player profiles and how they play and think about who in the NFL shows those signs. And sometimes it's as easy as you turn on the film and go, oh, that's Terry McLaurin. And that's what happened for me with Elijah Sarratt. it's just uncanny to me the way that he can release off the line on his in breaking routes, on his slants, and box out receive or DBs, that it looked like McLaurin to me. And then you see his deep routes and his ability to track the ball on these go routes. Like it's like watching him one for one, and it makes me really excited for Sarratt's profile. I have him as my wide receiver too. I'm way above consensus in this class, but it's something that he's proving so far this season with Mendoza. I think the fit between Mendoza and Sarratt has just been perfect, and we're going to continue to see this possibly into a college football playoff, maybe a deep run with how
Yeah.
they're playing so far. Maybe my hot take right now here and after week 2 of the college season. But yeah, Elijah Sarratt, someone I'm very excited about. And if you want to know who you're drafting, just go watch Terry McLaurin play. Next up, we have Nick Singleton, running back from Penn State, on our list.
Yeah, Singleton, part of one of the most high profile returning backfields in college football, along with Katron Allen. One of the most high profile returning offenses because Drew Allar came back as well. He'll come up later in this video, in fact, next. Kind of a spoiler alert. But our comp for Singleton is a little more complicated than I think many expect. It's Caleb Johnson with James Conner's hands. Obviously, you see Caleb Johnson in the way that he's an aggressive runner. Once he gets going, once he gets through the line of scrimmage, once he's given room to speed up, he's kind of unstoppable because he has that large frame, just like Johnson. He's hard to bring down. Johnson had good vision, able to navigate through the line of scrimmage pretty well. I see that with Singleton as well. And then the receiving ability with James Conner, who is a pretty good receiver at the running back position. I think he fits that bill pretty well, especially because he is kind of the bigger receiving back as well. Obviously, a great runner, just like Singleton, just like Caleb Johnson. But I was a big fan of Caleb Johnson, especially coming out of Iowa. A very high floor prospect, in my opinion. Physical runner. He could accelerate pretty well for his size. And I think that Singleton could be a really talented player, especially if he is as good as Caleb Johnson and James Conner.
Caleb Johnson's a funny one because he's an NFL comp, but he hasn't really played in the NFL yet. We barely saw him play in week 1. Uh, but the college profile, it's a very similar thing to me. If you hit these guys in the backfield, Nick Singleton or Caleb Johnson, they're not really creative runners. They're not elusive in the backfield, twitchy. But once they get up to speed, they can take off. They have this crazy top speed, crazy athleticism in the secondary. Like no DBs are bringing down guys this big and strong. So they're very similar in that way. But what I think Singleton brings to his profile as well is a pass catching that I didn't see with Caleb Johnson, and therefore the James Conner hands. I think he's someone who's just reliable out there. He has very good hands. He's not necessarily explosive once he gets the ball, like a quick twitchy pass catching back. He's no like Jahmyr Gibbs or something like that. But he's reliable, has great hands. He's going to catch passes and be something that a quarterback is comfortable checking down to at the next level.
Yeah.
The next name on our list is, as earlier mentioned, Drew Allar, the Penn State quarterback.
Yeah. Allar, our comp, or Calvin's comp, he came up with this one pretty creatively, is a lottery ticket for Josh Allen. The pieces are all there, the intangibles. He's got a great arm, a massive frame. He can move outside of the pocket. But the big thing about him is consistency with his accuracy, especially. We saw inconsistency pop up on his tape a lot last year, especially late in the season. That's the big concern with Allar, but he's looked really strong out of the gate in 2025. We will see if he can put it all together. If he can, maybe he is that superstar quarterback at the next level, just like Josh Allen. But there's also kind of a lower floor with Allar. Like I said, that consistency is something that you want to beware of. But again, he's looked really good out of the gate of the season, pushing the deep ball. He's done a great job with that so far. And if he can solve that consistency, then I think he can be really good.
Absolutely. Allar is someone that, even dating back to last year, this is a comp that I'd written about, Josh Allen, but it's a lottery ticket at Josh Allen. Like you can't just expect, if this was a Josh Allen comp one for one, he'd be at the top of the list, no problem, in his own tier. But you see some of those signs. You see the huge, perfect, ideal size, the huge arm to throw the ball downfield, athleticism. He's not like a pure runner. Josh Allen too, not like a Lamar Jackson or anything like that. But his combination of size and mobility make it so that he can pick up yards and can be a threat around the goal line to run as well. Something that's very important for us for fantasy. It just comes down to that consistency. Is he the one who puts it together? And for every 100 players that have bad accuracy issues, one or two of them solve them at the NFL level. Josh Allen was one of them. Is Drew Allar also going to be? It's not that he has terrible accuracy, but there's some real question marks there. What I've seen so far this season, I'm thinking the odds on this lottery are getting a little bit better each week.
Yeah.
Seeing him go through his progressions better, seeing him throw with anticipation better. So maybe that's all that he needed is a little bit more experience in a system. And if he does have that upside, I think he's going to go pretty high in these rookie drafts next year.
Yep.
Right, 11th on our list, we're going back to running back with a recent transfer over to Michigan in Justice Haynes.
Yeah, Haynes was a player back at Alabama I thought pretty highly of when he got the ball in his hands, and he's shown that to be the case, that he is worth that high draft pick at the next level with his play at Michigan so far. Our player comp for him is David Montgomery. He's a strong physical running where he's running between the tackles. He can get outside the tackles too, but he can break off really big runs with that. He's got decent speed on him. Not anything crazy, but he can break off big runs when he needs to, just like David Montgomery. He's good at the second level. He can break tackles. He's got good lateral movement, which is something I see with Montgomery and several players at the next level. But he's got that juice where he can break off some big runs as well. And he's been dominant so far at Michigan. A lot of great stats he's putting up, but just a lot of good intangibles at the running back position. Again, that movement ability, especially at the second level, to outrun defenders. I think just as a physical runner, he's going to be really good.
Since Montgomery moved over to the Lions, it's just so common for people to use him as a comp for just this like between the tackles plotter, like not athletic at all. And that's not who Montgomery is. Montgomery's exciting as a secondary back because he still has juice to his game. He still has lateral movement ability. And that's exactly what I see here with Justice Haynes. Very good between the tackles, a solid runner, strong, physical. But he has that juice. Right now, he broke off a 75-yard run for a touchdown for Michigan the other week. He's shown that he doesn't only have that strength, he also has a bit of extra something on the outside when he breaks a tackle or two.
Mm-hmm.
Now moving over to our last player of the top 12 here, and that is quarterback Cade Klubnik.
Yeah, Klubnik was my quarterback one heading into the season, and even though Clemson's off to a pretty rough start, I'm not willing to move off of him entirely. I trust the tape we saw last year. He made a ton of pro-ready NFL-level throws all over tape across several games against good opponents that make me think he has a very high ceiling at the NFL level. He's also a mobile quarterback. He's got a good arm. He's got good accuracy. I think he's just, the situation around him is not as good this year. He has also struggled in Clemson's offense against maybe even some not so good opponents. Obviously LSU, quality opponent, they lost to them, but the team struggled against Troy as well this past week in week 2. But I'm sticking with Klubnik. I think he's going to be a good quarterback at the NFL level if he lands in a good situation. I love all the tools he has. And my comp for him is Baker Mayfield. I kind of have this group of quarterbacks that I consider to be gamers, guys that can make a bunch of throws on the field, have big arms, they can get outside the pocket and just make plays when they need to. Just certified playmakers at the quarterback position that you trust to lead your team in the passing game. I think that Klubnik is still going to be if all goes well for the rest of the season, if it's not a complete disaster, I think he has a good chance to be a first-round pick.
People are very quick to react to a game or two of a sample size. I get it. Yeah, it's what we have recently, and it's what we want to grab onto. But I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think that's what we should be doing in our evaluation, and that's what's going on with Cade Klubnik. I actually wasn't super high on him coming into this year, but you can't drop him super far based on 1-2 games, especially with the production we saw from him last year. Now, if he continues to do this, I'm going to continue to drop him down my ranks. But I expect him to have a bit of a bounce back, and this is around the area I see him going in with that little bounce back. He's still a good quarterback. He's shown good production. I have questions about whether he'll be an elite talent at the next level, but right now even I think he still looks like a starting talent.
Hope you guys enjoyed the video so far. Make sure to like and subscribe to see Dynasty content like this all season long. We're going to have plenty of 2026 rookie content for the entire season. We're super excited to get that out to you with the college football season in full swing. Make sure to comment down below what you think of our rankings and how you would change what we're putting down.
Moving on to our 13th ranked player, and that is wide receiver Aaron Anderson from LSU.
Yeah, Anderson is an athletic freak. To be real, he's kind of a smaller wide receiver, but he's got the speed. There's rumors of him running a sub 4.40, which is really impressive if he can get into that 4.3 range. Which I mean, the rumor has it he can. I see several sites where he's listed as a 4.34 guy, which would be insane. But we see that speed show up in the field. He's a true speedster. When he gets the ball in his hands. Good after the catch. But he also has a really nice catch radius. Just a ridiculously impressive athlete. So our player comp is Jalen Waddle. If he can use that speed consistently, if he can win as a deep threat more, I think he can earn that Jalen Waddle comp even more. But Anderson, just a dynamic athlete, especially with the ball in his hands. And I think with Nussmeier at quarterback, he's going to continue to get fed the ball. Especially he had a really impressive week 1 game against Clemson. High quality opponent. He managed to put up some really nice stats. I think he had 99 yards or so. But I've been impressed with Anderson so far. He's really shot up my rankings, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Anderson's such a funny one to me from a comp perspective because he's like 5'8" and like 190 pounds, but he doesn't play small. He plays big, but he's fast. He's got acceleration. He's a little bit everywhere. I have a hard time getting a gauge on him. But when you watch the film, like especially so far this year, this guy just attacks the ball. He's so sudden in his movement through his routes. Like there's a lot of different comps you could make, but Jalen Waddle's a great one just with the speed and what he can do, the presence he can be in an offense. And I'm really just excited to see what he can do. This LSU, there's a lot of hype around this LSU offense so far this year. I'm really excited to see what he gets up to the rest of the season. Next on our list is the quarterback for our last player, Anderson, and that is Garrett Nussmeier from LSU.
Yeah, Nussmeier's off to a pretty good start to the year, especially in that Clemson game. He showed some flashes of greatness. But we saw him make some ridiculous throws. Really great ball placement from Nussmeier we've seen so far. A lot of improvement in that area. And he's shown the ability to be a gunslinger. He can make throws all over the field, especially in the intermediate area. He's shown some really nice vision as a thrower of the football there, distributing the balls to several different receivers and different routes. But I've been impressed by Nussmeier. He's got a good arm strength. He's just your pocket passer type guy, and that's why our comp is Jared Goff. He's a real pocket passer. He's had a ton of success at the NFL level. Nice build. He's a pretty big quarterback, and I think Nussmeier could have similar success. We could see him even go in the top 10 if he has a really strong season. That's kind of maybe that high floor quarterback option for teams that maybe don't want to miss in the top 5, the top 10. If he has that really impressive season, that could launch him up to that area of the draft.
Nussmeier is someone that I've gone a little away from consensus on. I've been kind of lower on him, and that's because I don't know if I'm going to see it translate for fantasy. For the NFL, I think he's got a pretty high floor. Like he is a very accurate passer. He's able to make all the throws underneath in the intermediate areas. He seems to be a very smart player as well. Can go through his progressions well. I just don't see him having that deep ball accuracy or strength to have that ceiling for fantasy, especially since he's not a rusher at all. Like maybe in this class of all the quarterbacks, he is the most of a statue. And that leads into our Jared Goff comp.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't have maybe these skills that bring him up to the elite level of quarterback for fantasy, but he seems like a high floor player as well that I think he will get a chance to start in the NFL and will be a possibly long-term starter with the skills he does have. I'm just a little worried about where the ceiling outcome is for him. Next up on our list, we have Darius Taylor, the running back.
Yeah, Taylor is a player that we've seen really excel as a pass catcher, especially last season. He was really great at that and has shown more of that this season in 2025. And that's something we've seen that's very translatable for running backs at the next level. It helps them get on the field. And so our comp for him is James White. Obviously retired a few years ago, but he was a dominant pass-catching running back for the Patriots for several years. Taylor's also a solid runner of the football, but a lot of his value can come in that pass-catching role. I think he could end up being a really solid contributor to the NFL level, especially he can work his way into a backfield that needs that pass-catching running back. But I am higher on Taylor. I think he's a high-floor prospect, and I'm excited to see where he goes in the draft.
This is kind of the other side of a prospect of I don't necessarily know if he's going to be a hit at the NFL level, but I know if he is, he has the pass catching to be an absolute killer for fantasy. Like,
Mhm.
this guy looks like a wide receiver when he's running routes. He does special things once the ball's in his hands. It just, I'm not so sure about his between the tackles, his ability as like an early down rusher. It's possible. It's definitely possible. His stats don't look terrible or anything. But some of the way he moves, and he's kind of like an upright runner. It reminded me, I said, of like Harold Fannin, this weird running motion, which, hey, Harold Fannin just went off in week 1 of the
True.
NFL season. So who am I
Very
to
true.
criticize? But yeah, it's one of those that it could go either way. I could see him being a great fantasy asset off that pass catching, or he just never really breaks through on an NFL roster because of his limitations as a rusher. Next up on our list, we're going back to wide receiver from Clemson, and that is Antonio Williams.
Yeah, Williams is a player that we really haven't seen in action much. Got injured with that hamstring in really early in that first game of the season with Clemson against LSU. So we haven't really seen him on the field a ton. But when he comes back, I think he's going to make a huge difference. Our player comp for him is Josh Downs, but on the outside at the X. Josh Downs obviously plays in the slot, but he's a great route runner, super shifty. He's good after the catch. He can make some spectacular catches down the field through contact. He's a good athlete. I think Antonio Williams just kind of encapsulates that perfectly, but on at the X position on the outside of the formation. We've seen him make some ridiculous catches. A good route runner, great separator, especially like down the sideline, over the middle of the field. And Cade Klubnik has a really good rapport with him. So I think once he comes back, I think Klubnik's play can improve as well. But Williams is a player I'm very high on. I'm not willing to move him down in my rankings so far just because he hasn't played. I expect him to be a regular contributor when he comes back to the field. And overall, I think he's a great prospect. I love this comp for him. Josh Downs has worked out at the NFL level. He's a really good player for the Indianapolis Colts, and I think Williams could be a really good player too, with that shiftiness, with that separation ability.
Maybe the reason Clemson's struggling so much is because they don't have their top wide receiver in Antonio
Maybe.
Williams. Maybe this is going to make me go up in my rankings on Antonio Williams, seeing how
There you
bad
go.
that offense has looked without him out there. Yeah, I love the film. He jumped off the tape for me. Even though Klubnik wasn't someone I was super excited about, every time he threw to Antonio Williams, I thought good things happened. I thought just throw to this guy all the time, and now that he can't throw to him at all, things are not going well. So yeah, absolutely, Antonio Williams. He's someone I really like. Next up on our rankings, we're back at running back with the Washington back, Jonah Coleman.
Yeah, Coleman has had a really strong start this season as well as plenty of other these players. But what you see from Coleman is a really physical running back. He is massive, nearly 230 pounds for the Huskies here, and he's shown the ability to be really physical back, to bounce off tackles, to be good on the goal line, break plenty of tackle attempts from defenders. But also you see that ability to break off big runs if he gets a cut. That jump cut from Coleman is deadly, even at his size. When he cuts to the outside, when he gets that angle on the secondary defenders, he can make some massive plays, rip off some huge touchdowns. And it reminds me of pre-injury Javonte Williams. Williams was one of my favorite prospects I've ever watched on tape coming out of North Carolina. Just a physical beast, able to just some of the best contact balance I've ever scouted, and just some really big play ability, especially down the field. So I think if Jonah Coleman can even tap into a bit of North Carolina Javonte Williams, he'll be just fine at the next level. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Absolutely. Cohen's one that I think could really rise up boards here as a running back. He could even go into that like top 3 running backs in this class. Uh,
Yeah.
Looking at his listings, like I have to do a double take every time because he's 5'9", so you think like, oh, he's a small, shifty back. The guy's like 230 pounds. This is like a full-on bowling ball out there,
Yeah.
and the way he bounces around off contact, like he's using that weight to his advantage. Uh, Absolutely, is one that I would bet on being a good riser over the second half of the season.
Yeah.
We're going to continue on with another running back in our rankings here, and that is C.J. Baxter from Texas.
Yeah, Baxter obviously had that really bad knee injury in 2024, had to miss the entire season, but in 2023 he showed that big playability, and I think he's going to tap into that even more in 25 here. But shown some good ability as a receiver. He's gotten a good amount of volume, especially in the Ohio State game. He got a lot of receptions there, but also a good rusher. Been efficient so far on the ground, well enough. Coming back from the injury, and I think we're going to see him become that big play threat again for Texas. The comp I have for him is Joe Mixon. I don't know if we're going to see him reach those production levels, but Mixon's always been a good receiver. He's always been able to stack up yards in the area and has always been able to rip off those big runs throughout his career. That's made him so good and last so long in the league. So I think Baxter, as far as his tools go, can be similar to Mixon.
Baxter has all of the tools. He's someone that I think has a crazy ceiling. I just don't know whether he's going to hit that ceiling. So far this season, he's been good enough that I'm happy to rank him here. But he does have that potential, just with his size, with his strength, with his speed. It just I need to see the production first. Once I see the production, I'll fly him up these rankings. But until then, he's a player that looks good, but we're just waiting for that potential to hit. Next up on our list is wide receiver Zachariah Branch.
Yeah, Branch for the Georgia Bulldogs transferred him from USC. Really highly touted recruit out of high school. And this player comp, one of my favorite players in the NFL right now is Rashid Shaheed for the New Orleans Saints. They have very similar measurables. A lot of the players in this list have similar measurables to their NFL player comps, but Shaheed's and Branch's were practically identical, and the way they play is super similar as well. They're those smaller, shifty guys that can fly downfield and be that deep threat, make some huge plays in game, and burn the defense for some long touchdowns. So Branch, obviously, he flashed as a ridiculous punt returner at USC and also had his moments as a receiver. We'll see if at Georgia he can take over as that more full-time receiver role and can kind of dominate in that area. And maybe he can look even more like Shaheed with those deep touchdowns with the Bulldogs this year. But I love this player comp. I think Branch has the chance to be something really special.
He absolutely has that chance. Anytime you put together that speed and acceleration and twitchiness kind of combo, I get really excited watching him on film. It's just you don't have that consistent production. He's not a dominant wide receiver, demanding targets regularly enough. But once the ball's in his hands, he can do some really special things. It's just whether he can take that next level to be a more consistent producer. Continuing on at wide receiver here, we have probably the opposite kind of archetype in Nick Harbor.
Yeah, Harbor, wide receiver for the South Carolina Gamecocks, looked great this year. I believe if I have his measurables memorized, I think he's 6'5", 235, which is unbelievable, and he even plays in the slot. So just a really unique player as far as profile goes. And our comp for him, who else could it be other than DK Metcalf, who's just an athletic freak, a physical freak, massive player who can also burn defenses deep. Really, he's been really good for the Steelers so far this year, and Harbor's been really good for the Gamecocks. He had a great game week 1 against Virginia Tech, as did Sellers, obviously, as we mentioned earlier. But they connected on a deep ball. They also had a play that I think should have been a touchdown earlier in that game as well. But if he can be that deep threat, if he can burn defenses deep, he's a track star, former track star. I think if he can tap into that and be a more consistent presence on this Gamecock offense, I mean, his build is ridiculous. He is one of the best athletes, I think, in college football in terms of size and speed and what he can do. But I'm really excited to see if Harbor, with this ridiculously high ceiling, if he can tap into that and become a really special player.
Harbor is like a track athlete. Like, this is 6'5", 235, and just pure speed. Like, a guy that could possibly break like a 4.4 40. Like, he might just absolutely ruin RAS metrics. Like, he might just at the combine be one of these crazy risers, no matter how he does production wise. Mm-hmm. But hey, we saw a huge touchdown in week 1, a couple big catches. If he has the production to match up with his physical traits, like there's no telling what kind of player this could be. I don't even think we had him in our top 24 at all before this season. But now, like, you just have to include him, just the physical traits. If he's going to show off this production, yes, absolutely, he's going to be in our rankings and moving up. Next up, we're at wide receiver again with Denzel Boston.
Yeah, Boston for the Washington Huskies this year. He's had a pretty solid start to the season. I think there's always one player in every NFL draft class that can be that big physical receiver. Last year was Jaden Higgins. I comped into Michael Pittman Jr., and I'm doing the same to Denzel Boston. Both Pittman and Boston are 6'4". They're physical players who maybe don't thrive off of separation, but can make those contested catches, can box out defenders on the intermediate part of the field, deep down the field. Pittman's shown the ability to do that, especially in the red zone. So I think this is a solid comp. I think the size is going to be there. That big frame gives him a nice floor. We've seen the production so far in 2025 with the Huskies. So Boston's a player I think that could be that second, third round guy like we saw Higgins become, especially if he does well in the pre-draft process. But I like the tools, I like the frame, I like the size, and I think he could be a high floor player.
Yep, another guy, big wide receiver in the NFL. They love big X wide receivers, guys that can fill that X spot. And Denzel Boston's another one of them. The film doesn't look amazing to me so far. The production's so, but he is someone that I think NFL teams are going to fall in love with just because of the size, the
Mhm.
skills, and if he has good enough production to be in that conversation, I think he'll be there. Similar, like you said, to a Jaden Higgins with that skill
Yeah.
set, like a Michael Pittman. We're going to continue on with the wide receivers here and move on to Eric Singleton.
Yeah, Singleton transferred in from Georgia Tech to Auburn in that new SEC role. He's been pretty good so far with Jackson Arnold at quarterback, I believe. He's a really good speed guy, super versatile. I believe, if I'm correct, I think he took snaps at running back last year at Georgia Tech. But very versatile player, incredible speed. And that reminds me of Xavier Worthy, who was used all over the field with the Chiefs last season in Andy Reid's very creative offensive scheme. I think that if a creative play caller gets their hands on Singleton at the NFL level, there could be some there could be some dangerous things happening to NFL defenses. But Singleton, very high ceiling player. We'll see if the production can match up in a full SEC season. But I'm excited to see where he goes. He's one of the most high profile transfers we saw in the portal this past offseason. And if he could live up that Xavier Worthy building, that'd be great.
Worthy's a solid comp for Singleton. He's not the same kind of route runner, I don't find, as Worthy. He's not as good as a
Sure.
pure wide receiver, but he has that speed. He has that twitchiness. He has those. You can use him in these creative ways to get you yards, those end arounds, whatever it may be, out in screens. And yeah, he has that potential. Once you get into this area of rankings, this is like the end of the second round of rookie drafts, early third. You're just looking for upside. And he definitely has that upside with his speed, with his physical traits. And if the production continues this year, then maybe he won't be in the late second of your rookie
Yeah.
drafts when the time comes around. We have another wide receiver here, and we're going with Eugene Wilson from Florida.
Yeah, Eugene Wilson III out of Florida. A solid start to the season, showing his ability as the playmaker. Last season, a lot what we saw from him was just some ridiculous ability to juke out defenders, make defenders miss, and break their ankles. Really, he's got some really great movement ability. He can stop on a dime, change directions. He's shown the ability to be good. He could be a great returner at the next level, but I think he's kind of like a guy like Kadarius Toney, who also went to Florida. And when I say the name, obviously there's a negative connotation because Worthy could not catch the ball. But I think Wilson has some decent hands. I think he's going to have a more positive trajectory at the NFL level than two-time Super Bowl winner Kadarius Toney did. Um, but I see the same movement ability. I see the same ridiculous juke ability after the catch to generate some extra yards. And I think Wilson could be a really dangerous weapon at the NFL level with the ball in his hands, like we've seen so far at Florida.
Absolutely. Eugene Wilson's someone that I'm excited about. I think there could be a lot more upside than down here late in the second round of your rookie drafts.
Mhm.
Um, we just, again, like a lot of these wide receivers at this stage, we need to see a little bit more production. I like what I see on film from him. I just want to see a higher volume of it to be confident in him having fantasy relevance in the NFL. Now, on to our last player, and that is Nick Anderson, previously out of Oklahoma, now with LSU.
Yeah, Anderson, he's got that big frame, 6'4", 208, is how ESPN lists him. And he can make those contested catches. The player comp for him is Mike Williams. He showed that ability at the NFL level to make those contested catches, to be that big body guy for the Chargers and whatever other team he was on. But no, Mike Williams had a pretty successful career in the NFL. I think Nick Anderson, if he gets the volume, if he gets next to Aaron Anderson in this LSU offense, if he becomes a more consistent presence in the receiving game, has the chance to kind of break out.
This is one I'm holding on to, why he's even fitting in the ranking still, because he has not looked good so far this season. Or I shouldn't say he hasn't looked good, he just hasn't produced anything. LSU has seemed to use him as a blocker, and that's about it. I think that might come down to Nick Anderson is an amazing deep threat, and Nussmeier is just not throwing the ball deep. Maybe that's because they haven't had to win games. Maybe that's because he can't throw the ball very well deep down the field. I don't know, but I am excited. I think this is a player that could make this offense work so much better even than it is, and take them from a really great team to possibly a national championship team, because that's that deep threat kind of option that he was unreal at Oklahoma. Like, the stats were amazing, and it's something that we just have to hold on to because we only have that 1 year of production. But I think he's someone that's probably my top sleeper in this class right now. If that production does come, if he starts getting some more targets, gets himself more integrated in that LSU offense, I think really big things could be coming. That is our top 24 2026 Dynasty Rookie Rankings for you, along with some NFL comps to give you an idea of who these players are. Now, if you like this content, go ahead and subscribe to our channel because we're just going to keep giving you more 2026 Dynasty content. We're going to give you what the projected draft capital of these players in, all the way in to full player scouting profiles later in the season. So if you don't want to miss that, go ahead and subscribe, and we will see you next time.